I'm Sarah Buckley. I'm the Chief of Staff to Carol Schwartz AO, and I'm the National Co-Convener of Pathways to Politics for Women with my wonderful colleague who is here as well, Dr. Meredith Martin. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional lands we're all joining from. I acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, where I'm joining from this evening, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and of course to all First Nations people who are here with us. Today's session is part of a growing masterclass series we're developing for our alum community, covering all the topics that matter deeply to women in politics, from integrity to online safety, and the one we're tackling today, artificial intelligence. This session came about because Jo approached us, and as a New South Wales alum herself, she was passionate about bringing her expertise in AI training to this community. And we're so grateful to her generosity in making this happen. And I'll properly introduce Jo in a moment. And I know we've got lots of fantastic New South Wales alum, particularly from her cohort here to cheer her on, which is just fantastic. AI is transforming every aspect of public life, and politics, of course, is no exception. How candidates communicate, how campaigns are run, how communities are engaged, and how decisions are made. Its influence is only growing, and we want our alum community equipped to navigate and leverage it confidently on their own terms. So, what will this evening's session cover? We're focused on AI as a practical support tool, drafting, researching, brainstorming, policy simplification, content planning, and media interview practice. The things that can genuinely save you time, sharpen your thinking, and help you prepare for high stakes moments. What it is not is a replacement for your judgment. The final review, the fact checking, the local knowledge, the human connection, that is yours, and it's the way it should stay. There are, of course, real risks in the AI landscape, but that won't be covered in this session today. Things like the way AI can be weaponized against women in public life. These are things we take very seriously, but they're a focus of a separate session. We have our incredible eSafety Commission social media self-defense training and encourage you to take part in that as well. Before we go any further, I just wanted to name something that sits beneath all of this. AI carries inherent bias. It is trained on data that reflects historical inequities, shaping what it produces, who it centres, and who experiences it focuses on. And left to its defaults, AI will do what systems without a gender lens have always done, replicate the imbalances we've spent decades trying to fix. And for women leading in public life, that's not a minor footnote. It's something to hold front of mind every time you use these tools. Through the Women's Leadership Institute Australia, which I lead, in partnership with the Champions of Change Coalition, we have developed the Inclusive AI Pledge and Prompt as a direct response to this bias. The pledge calls on leaders to move beyond good intentions and embed equality and inclusion into how AI is actually used, not as an afterthought, but by design. At the heart of this is a practical tool, the Inclusive AI Prompt, which gives you and your organisations a repeatable way to apply inclusive thinking in everyday AI use. And it draws on a fantastic research base, both from the Champions of Change Coalition and the Gender Compass, which we've talked about in a Pathways context before. We've seen this model work before. The panel pledge, which Carol Schwartz brought to Australia, started with one visible ask, and over many years, gender balanced panels became the norm. The same principle applies here, but the scale of AI means we cannot afford to wait a decade. So you will have seen Tess has just shared the link in the chat, and we'll put it in the follow-up email as well. So please take the pledge and pass it on to both your professional and personal networks, because this is how inclusive AI will become the norm, not the exception. Just moving on to other business, I really wanted to welcome Lara Stevenson to this Zoom. That name will become more familiar to you over time. She is in about week 3 of being the National Pathways Alumni Engagement Coordinator. So welcome, Lara. As you will have seen
Thank
this
you.
session, great. As you will have seen, this session is being recorded, so we're going to be going through lots of different activities, but don't be worried if you want to come back and recheck something. There'll be resources, there'll be recording as well. And I did just want to note at the close of the session, there'll be a brief poll that will automatically pop up in your Zoom. So please just take a minute or two to have a look at that and share your feedback because it will directly shape how we look at developing this work going forward. So it's now my great pleasure to introduce today's facilitator and fellow Pathways alum, Dr. Josephine Okurame. Jo is an AI educator, researcher, and university lecturer who helps professionals apply emerging technologies in practical real-world contexts. She works with organisations, community leaders, and professionals across Australia to use AI with clarity and confidence, particularly in areas where strong decision making, clear communication, and stakeholder engagement matter most. She is known for translating complex ideas into tools that are simple, practical, and immediately applicable. And having been through the Pathways program herself, she brings an understanding of political leadership that makes today's session particularly valuable. So I have no doubt that you will leave better equipped, more confident, and ready to put these tools to use. So over to you, Jo. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to start with sharing my screen. Let me just do that right now. And then we're going to get started. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that introduction. I am going to start off by welcoming everyone to this session. I'm really excited. You're probably going to feed off my energy or you're going to feel my energy because I'm very passionate about this area. If you can't tell, you're going to be able to tell by the end of the session. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. You guys are on mute, so all I can see is the emojis. So please feel free to drop them when something lands, when something feels good, when you want to type wow, go ahead and type it in the chats. That's where all the interaction and engagement is happening. Okay, so let's do an emoji test. It says react, so just drop an emoji if you understand what I'm saying. If you can hear me and you can feel what I'm saying, just drop an emoji. Let's see. Let's see if you guys can find it. It says react. You can drop a heart, you can drop a clapping sign, whatever it is. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Okay, awesome. This is what I'm talking about. That's the kind of energy I need. All right, perfect. Now, what I want to do is a little bit of a check because I know we have some AI pros and we have some people that are like, no way, I don't want to touch AI. I don't even know why I'm here. Okay, so we have a 0 to 5. 0 if you've never touched AI, 2 or 3 if you use it sparingly, number 4 if you use it a lot, and 5 if you are an AI pro. Okay, drop it in the chats. Let me see. Number 4, number 2, number 4. Beautiful. We have some pros in the house. So you might want to take over this training. Okay. Number 3, number 2, okay, 3 to 4. We have a good range. Some people use it every now and then. Beautiful. Thank you guys. Amazing. That's what I want to hear. So today is not a general AI tour. It's about how you get to use AI as your thinking partner for political life, preparing, communicating, making decisions under pressure, and staying credible. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it, right? Let's just talk about a bit of an overview of what you're going to gain from this training. Okay, I'm going to start off by telling you why this training is a little bit different. It's about guided use, not blind adoption. And if you don't already have a screen or a laptop open, please grab it. You're going to want to use a laptop for this session, not just your mobile phone. Okay, so grab a screen, grab a laptop. You're going to enjoy the session. I can promise you that. Then we're going to start off with the safety and the guardrails. We're going to cover what not to share with AI and how to use it responsibly without losing credibility. The next thing we're going to do is setup. We're setting you up for success, okay? Because what happens is a lot of people don't even touch their settings in some of these LLMs. And so we're going to take you behind the scenes on some of the things that you can actually get set up so that you're more secure when it comes to utilizing artificial intelligence. The next thing we're going to do is set it up like communicating like a human. We're going to turn policy talk into plain language. So sometimes you see policy briefs that are a little bit complex, and we're going to show you how you can make that more comprehensible for people that you are actually communicating to. Okay, and then we're going to pressure test your position, how you can practice interviews through tough moments before they show up. And also then we're going to show you how to build your own AI assistant. Sounds like a lot to cover, but we are here to make sure that you get the understanding that you need. So we're jumping right into talking about why this is a little bit different. A lot of trainings might teach you about prompts, tools, AI stack, some of the complex terminology that makes people a little bit scared of AI. But we're going to be talking about taking advantage of AI, leveraging AI for behavioral insights, for strategy, real world application. If you see me looking over here, I'm looking at my slides. I'm with you. Okay. And then we're going to validate your concerns and your security concerns about around AI because they are valid. Okay. They are, before even going into what AI can do, we need to talk about why a lot of women are cautious about AI. We have ethical concerns, bias, privacy, misinformation, sounding fake, cheating. These are things that we've seen even in the literature when it comes to women adopting AI. The men have jumped on it, but the women, we are very ethical people here. So we want to take you behind and show you how you can be even more ethical and still get the benefits of utilizing artificial intelligence. Okay, so let's talk about the whole um, not using a blind adoption strategy, right? Using the guided use strategy. You want to use AI where it helps. You want to question it where it fails. You want to stay in control of your own judgment throughout the entire process. Protect your credibility because it really matters and make conscious choices rather than reactive ones. So AI needs to support your thinking and not replace it. Political life obviously requires you to absorb a lot of information, communicate clearly, respond under pressure, and that's where AI becomes that assistant tool that helps you through this process. Okay? Um, I want to jump right into some of these guardrails and ethical guiding principles that you can implement just knowing how to use AI and what kind of information you should and should not put in. The first one is like sensitive information, right? Anything that's confidential, that's sensitive, or not public facing should not be posted directly into AI. And so these are some examples, right? Internal party discussions, private emails, personal data, unpublished strategy. What's the solution? You can generalize this scenario. If you want to ask AI something, I'm going to give you 2 hacks on how you can go about, putting information in, but these are the little guardrails that you need to put in place. You can generalize a scenario and say, hypothetically speaking, we have a situation where this is happening. And then there's no link to anybody in particular. Okay. So sensitive information. The second one is you are the final decision maker. AI will support your thinking, but should never replace your judgment. You are in control. You're the creative director. Whatever title you want to give yourself, you make the final call. You edit, you sense check, and you decide. Now, fact checking is non-negotiable. We've seen a lot of scandals in the news lately, people copying and pasting directly from artificial intelligence without fact checking. This is where this guardrail is really important. Sorry. If it matters publicly, double check it. If it will affect your credibility, triple check it. Okay. This is one tip that I use sometimes to check. So I might get an output from ChatGPT. So I use different LLMs to check each other. LLM stands for large language model. So don't get don't get overly invested in the terminology. It's just stuff like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Grok. They're all LLMs, Claude. So you can actually ask one LLM to check or fact check or cross check another LLM. Okay, LLMs are not jealous. They actually do what you ask them to do. So don't worry, you can put in data and ask them to cross check each other. Okay, the next one is that you can go incognito. A lot of people don't realize that ChatGPT has something, kind of like when you go incognito on the browser, ChatGPT has that. It's called temporary chat, and it uses inbuilt privacy features, right? It's like a private scratchpad for one-off conversation, and it lets you explore an idea without saving it to the memory or your chat history. And there is no memory. Once you go off incognito, it's done, it's gone. So there are certain things that you might want to quickly check. Again, use all the guardrails, but let me show you quickly where incognito is located. So if you go into ChatGPT, this is the ChatGPT interface. If you look at the top right there, and it's a little chat bubble, and it's hidden there for a reason because it's supposed to be incognito. And it's serrated. You just click on that. And once you click on that, you're going to see that this interface becomes black. So it goes from white to black. That's how you know you're in temporary chat mode. And that's where we are. So with temporary chat mode, you can upload things, you can ask questions directly, but once you click off of it and you go back up to the right over there and click off of it, it's gone. No memory, no history, nothing. So these are some of the things that people are not aware of, but now you know, okay? That's why you're here. And then you can ask for references. This one's really important because if you don't know, artificial intelligence hallucinates, okay? Hallucinating meaning it can just go off on a rampage and just decide to tell you things that just from nowhere. Okay. So you want to sometimes put in, if you are doing like research-based stuff, ask for evidence-based sources, and you can ask your LLM to cite those sources. Like when you ask, we're using the craft method. I'm going to show you a bit about the craft method and prompt engineering. So you guys are going to become pros at prompt engineering after this session, by the way. So we're going to use the craft session and show you how you can incorporate that. So you can, when you're fact checking, you can check where did they get this information from. You can literally click the cite button and you can access that. So those are some of the guardrails and the things that you should bear in mind. Now we're going to go straight into our settings. This is your foundation. Every setting you have in ChatGPT, you have similar settings in other LLMs. You just have to locate them. But now that you're going to learn how to do it, that transferable information is not too bad. Okay, so we're going to set this up once, and then we're going to use ChatGPT with confidence every day. Your foundation basically determines everything that follows. So we're going to do three things: security, data controls, and personalization. Okay, the first step is for you to lock your account. I'm going to go through this first, like in theory, then I'll take you behind the scenes and we're going to do it together. Okay, so get your computers ready. Lock your account, set up multi-factor authentication. Some of you have the Google Authenticator app. There's also the option to do like a text message to your phone and things like that. The next thing we're going to do is control your data, and we're going to go to settings. We're going to find data controls. Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through this, and we're going to actually disable model training. And I'll talk a bit about that when we get to the demo. And then we're going to set up parental controls for some of you that have kids that are using artificial intelligence. So let's go into the ChatGPT interface and set these things up. When you go into the interface like this, on the bottom left, you have your name and you have your band. So you see plus, which means I'm on the paid plan because I use ChatGPT for a lot of things. If you are on the free plan, don't worry. Everything that we are doing today is going to be, you're going to be able to use it on the free plan. Okay. You just have, on the paid plan, you have more access to things like agent mode and, deep research. You have more bandwidth to utilize that, and it goes on a deeper level. So that's pretty much the difference between paid and the free plan. So when you click on that, I want you to go to settings. Okay. Click on your name at the bottom left and then click on settings. When you click on settings, this is going to pop up, and I want you to go all the way to where it says security. Okay. All right. Once you click security, now we're going to set some things up. You see password. You should have a password there. And this is where you turn on multi-factor authentication. So you can see that mine's turned on. All you have to do is switch that on, and a QR code will pop up, and you can link it to whatever authenticator app you're utilizing. And then text message is another option. So if you want them to text you, if you don't have an authenticator up, this is one of the security settings you should get into place. The next thing we're going to do is data controls. When you go to data controls, we're going to see something called improve the model for everyone. By default, this is switched on. I switched it on for you guys just to show you. Improve the model for everyone. Click on where it says on and toggle that off. We want to toggle that off because we don't want them to use our data to improve the model, but they can use other people's data. Okay? That's what we're telling ChatGPT. Don't use mine, use other people. So turn that off for your own security and for your safety settings. All right. Once that's done, you can then go ahead and some other key things for you to note here is things like you can delete all chats. If you're migrating from one LLM to another, so say you're going from ChatGPT to Claude, which a lot of people did, you can literally delete all chats, you can archive all chats, and you can export data from ChatGPT. So this is where you control data, and that's why it's called data controls. Now, when you go into parental controls, this is for basically your kids. Okay, you're able to link accounts, link your kid's account, and you can add a family member. So if you click learn more here, it'll take you to a page that tells you a lot of the things about what parental control covers. What parental control covers, it'll take you on how to get started and invite the teenager. I'll show you in a second how to invite this teenager. So if you click add a family member, you can actually say your parents, you can add like who you are. So is it your child or my parent or guardian? And then you can keep control over here. So these settings are for you to come back to and take your time and address them. Okay. One of the things I forgot to mention to you guys is that you're going to be getting a resource pack. So a lot of this you can follow along. Otherwise, you're going to get a free resource guide, which is a step-by-step guide, because some of these settings, you're going to have to personalize it on your own and by yourself. Okay. So you're going to get that at the end of this session. So don't worry if you are not following with the exact same pace. I just want to show you what is possible. So sit back. If it's going too fast, you can sit back and take it in. Okay. So that is data control. We've looked at data controls, we've looked at security, and we've looked at parental controls. Okay. And those are the key things that you need to set up when it comes to security. All right. Now we are going to move on to where it's called, the next step is called ChatGPT personalization. Okay. So all right. So when it comes to personalization, what we're looking at is getting ChatGPT to sound not necessarily like you, because one of the biggest complaints that we have about AI is that it sounds robotic. Often that happens because we have not told it how to communicate, how we communicate. Now, the goal is not to make AI your personality because there's only one of you. It is to stop flattening your voice in the outputs. So one thing I'm going to show you is how you can set this up in ChatGPT. If you go into ChatGPT, again, all of your settings are going to be located at the bottom left where your name is. Okay. When you click on that, when you click on your name and you go into settings again, remember settings is where we have our data controls, our security, our parental controls. So this is really your setup hub. Okay. So once we're done with the training and you get the instructions, please come back here and take your time and do the setup. Then we're going to go into personalization, right? This is where everything happens, okay? When it comes to the tone and making yours sound different, okay? Because you hear some people say, my chat GPT argues with me. My chat is just so flat. It's so generic. This is where it happens. There's something called the base style and tone, okay? You set the style and tone of how ChatGPT responds to you. This doesn't impact the ChatGPT capabilities, but it sets the tone for what you have to do. Now, if you click on here, you can see the different options. We have default, professional, friendly, quirky, efficient, cynical. And you're probably wondering, how do I know which one to pick? Let's go back here. And this is also one of the things that I've made available in your resource, so you can select it and choose whatever works better for you. So what it is it just changes the voice, right? So this is the same question, same AI, different political voice. A prompt says, a voter says, I do not trust politicians. Why should I trust you? And this is the default response. Your concerns are valid. Many people feel that way after seeing broken promises and political gridlock. I believe in accountability, transparency, and results that improve your daily life. I will listen, keep my promises, and put your needs first. That is the default. You can go professional. You can look at the friendly, okay? I'm not really the friendly. I mean, I'm friendly to you guys, but I like candid. I like to be told as is, okay? Friendly is like, I get it. Politics can feel disappointing. You know, I'm a local just like you. But you see, candid is like straight to the point. Then quirky is, sarcastic, very playful, good question. If I had $1 for every person who said that, I would have funded half my campaign. I don't know if you want to pick that, but make sure you pick what's right for your political voice. Okay? So that's just that. This document, again, will be made available to you so you can kind of see the difference. And that way you can choose which one works better for you. So that's where you go in there, candid, and you select what you want. And I've selected candid. And then you have characteristics. So if you want warm, friendly, you can select more, default, or less. I went less because, like I already told you, I like it candid. Then enthusiastic, of course, more. You can tell my energy. And then headers and lists, I can leave that as default. Emojis, I definitely don't want that because you guys know that emojis are one of the ways you can tell that someone's used AI. What other way, for some of you guys that have used AI, drop in the chat, what other way can you tell if someone has used AI like copy and paste? Tell me. Tell me. Exactly. Beautiful. Dashes, M dashes, long hyphens. Thank you very much. That's it. And we're gonna fix all of that in a minute. It's so glaring. That's why you guys are pros, right? Because you're gonna be able to, before you post anything, remove those M dashes, but we can set it up, okay? Then you have custom instructions. Look at that. Avoid using emojis, M hyphens, M dash. I'm like literally emphasizing, I do not want that in my output. This is where that happens. Do you guys want this copy and paste? I've got it for you. Don't worry. So I'm going to share a live doc meaning you can tune into this document and we're going to work with it together. Yes, robotic answers for sure. Let me share this live doc in the chat. So all of you can actually join in into the live doc. And what happens is this is the custom instructions, this one here. So feel free to just copy this as is and put it into your custom instructions. But remember, you can modify, you can edit, you can change it. If you want more emojis, don't put that. No, look, I wrote it so many times. It's because I don't want it. I don't want it at all. So you definitely can adopt this as you require. I can see you guys joining into the live doc. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so don't worry about the other prompts. We're going to work with it together as we go. Excellent, excellent. Let's keep going. Let's keep going because we have a bit to get through. Okay, excellent. As we continue on, like something like this, just sit back and watch me explain it. Now, prompt engineering used to be a whole course. People would do prompt engineering and they would have a full course on prompt engineering and people would buy those courses. But now it's different. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick hack and also the acronym for you to look out for what makes a good prompt. Okay, your output is only as good as the prompt that you give in. So we have the craft acronym, which is the context where you provide background information. R stands for role, which is where you assign a persona. So you can see something like act as an expert or act as a political strategist, right? And then you have audience, specify who is this output for. The next one you have is the format. Where it defines the desired output structure, so like a bulleted list or a tweet. And you can actually ask, I know you guys, some of you guys might not know this, but you can ask for an output in Excel, in PDF, and in Word. Yes, you can actually request for that. And then task, you can clearly state the action that the AI needs to perform. So this is an example of what the craft can look like in a prompt. But let me shock you. You don't need to learn all of this anymore. You do not need to learn all of this anymore. You need to know it, have the knowledge, but I don't want you sitting down, especially because you attended this training, trying to craft a prompt and spending all that time. The quick hack is use your voice note, and I'm going to show you. You're going to use your voice notes to perfect your prompt. You can literally just share with the AI what your like read out something to the AI and ask it to turn it into a prompt, right? So let's say you go into, give me a second, let me show you how that works. Okay, you go into ChatGPT and we have two modes here. We have dictate and we have use voice. So if you dictate and you say, this is my example. I want a prompt that helps me search social media to find out about where my name is being mentioned as I'm campaigning for politics. Give me an ideal prompt for this. And that's it. I did that so you can see how rough you just use conversational language and you just ask ChatGPT to give you a prompt. You ask it. Nobody knows LLM better than an LLM. Let's see what it comes up with. That was such a rough conversation. And I want you guys you're going to see me do a lot of rough talk in this voice mode because voice mode allows you to express yourself. You just do a brain dump. Look at that. It's giving you, here's a strong prompt you can use in ChatGPT. Agent mode, Perplexity, Google, or any. Look at that. It gives you social media mention search prompt. Act as, remember the role. We talked about the craft. So act as a social media monitoring and campaign intelligence assistant. I am campaigning publicly on policy issues. Look at that. Search for mentions of my name, other possible mentions, related brands, policy. I mean, if you had to write this prompt, would you have gotten it like this? Just type it in the chat. Would you have written it like this? If you had to write this yourself, I mean, this would have taken a lot of time to get through. Exactly. So please, this is the quickest hack. Don't get confused with prompt engineering. You're an engineer, okay? You got the certificate from this training. You can engineer now, okay? Awesome. Now that we have that out of the way, let's keep going. You guys are in for a treat. Let me tell you, there's a lot of things we're gonna hack our way through. It's not a hack, it's literally there. It's out there for ChatGPT. All right, let's keep going. We're gonna talk about our first activity. I'm looking at the time, trying to make sure we cover everything that we have. Now, one of the biggest challenges that we have in politics is not just knowing your position, it's explaining it in a way for everyday people to understand, right? You want to be able to explain it in the way that they can comprehend. A lot of the policy brief documents, who can attest to this? Like some of them are really like complex. Like it's complex diction that your average person can't get. So this is why we're doing this activity from policy to people, because you are speaking to the people. So that ability to translate is very key. So this is your example, right? We want to ask ChatGPT to rewrite the policy brief in plain English for everyday voters to keep the message, but make it warmer, clearer, easier to understand. Write it as if I'm a candidate explaining this to local families at a community forum. Okay, so you might want to just read out the policy brief, but here you can convert it. And then we wanted to create a short version for a campaign flyer, a 30-second speech version, and a one-sentence message that voters will remember. That could literally become your iconic mantra or something like that, like a memorable line for voters to remember. Okay, so here is the policy brief, and then you can take it further. Now, what I want you to see in this, if you go back to our live document, okay, you go back to our live document, I actually have a mock policy brief for you guys. And so this is the mock policy brief, and this is the prompt. The prompt that I had on the slide is on your live document. So if you go to the live document and you can see that prompt, you can literally copy this, rewrite the policy brief. Remember the prompt that we put? And then I want you guys to, where it says paste policy brief, paste this one, this policy brief here. I can show you what that policy brief is. Let me just show you real quick. So this is the actual, it's a demo, by the way. It's not a real policy brief, but it's just so you can see an example of how this works in reality. So when you see policy brief, this is the policy brief, access to affordable, reliable, and high quality early childhood education. So what I'm going to do, go back to the live document. I've highlighted the policy brief so you don't get too confused. And then we're going to copy right here where it says rewrite the policy. This is the prompt, okay? So under policy to people, copy that. Just hit copy, right click and hit copy. Once you copy that, we're going to go back into ChatGPT and we are going to post this here. Don't hit enter just yet because we don't have the policy brief. This is the policy brief here. Okay, let's remove this part here where it says take it further. We're going to do take it further as the next prompt. So don't highlight this part. Don't paste this in yet. Okay, let's just remove that. Let's highlight the part that you shouldn't. Don't paste, take it further. Just stop here. This is what you're highlighting. Let me highlight what, this is what you're copying. The blue is the prompt. So you copy that, put that into ChatGPT, and you're going to paste the policy brief right here. So what we're going to do is go back to the live document, and this is the policy brief, this yellow part here, where it says policy brief. You're going to start from where it says policy brief, highlight it, go all the way down, and then copy that, and go back into ChatGPT and paste that brief right there. Okay? So we're pasting the brief into the prompt. But also, another thing you can do is you cannot just upload it. So you see here, you can upload it as a document as well. So I just wanted to show you how to copy and paste as well, but you can definitely upload it, okay? So just know that you have a few options, and we're going to hit send, and we're going to see what ChatGPT comes up with. So this document is also one of the things that's going to be available in your resource pack, but your resource pack has a step-by-step guide, okay? So this is what it's given me. Plain English version for local families. When families cannot find childcare, it does not just affect one household, it affects the whole community. Across many regional and outer suburban areas, parents are telling us the same thing. Childcare is too expensive, wait lists are too long, opening hours do not match real work hours. This is more comprehensible, a lot easier to understand. Okay, this is where AI becomes useful for communication. We're not asking it to reinvent our values. We're asking it to keep the substance, keep the meaning, but translate it into a language that voters can actually connect with. Okay, now what I want to show you is this part here, the short version for a campaign flyer. This is too many local families are stuck on long childcare wait lists. So this is like a short version that you can put on a campaign flyer. And then you have this, the 30-second speech version. So if you had a speech, this is what you would be able to read out. Okay? For many local families, childcare has become one of the biggest barriers to getting ahead. Parents are facing long wait lists, high fees, limited hours, and services that are simply too far away. Remember, we asked it for one more thing, one sentence message that voters will remember. When childcare works for families, parents can work, businesses can grow, and the whole community becomes stronger. So it's giving you a little mantra for you to also utilize maybe at the end of your speech or whatever the case may be. What has the AI tool done? It simplified the language, it kept the meaning, and it's tailored the message to a specific audience. So AI still helps you keep the substance, but translate it into a language that the people you are trying to reach can understand. And that's one of the things when we talk about leveraging AI. You might have had to do this manually, but it would have taken you ages, lots of time. And all of us are busy already. Like literally every time you have a call to someone, they say they're busy because you really are. So this is where leverage comes in when it comes to AI. Now, this is a follow-up prompt optional for you. You can say, tailor this message to 3 voter groups in my electorate: working parents, small business owners, older voters, and grandparents. And for each, you can include what they care about, what language will connect with them, and a version of the message that speaks directly to them. All of these things are examples of what you can put into AI. So we have our original prompt, but we always have a follow-up prompt, something that takes it a little bit further. Okay? And then you can get a mini campaign communication pack from this. So I want you guys to, when you get your resource pack, please feel free to explore. Give me an Instagram caption that I can use, a LinkedIn post from that policy, a short media quote, a door knocking script, 3 voter friendly talking points. So I'm just giving you examples of how far this can go. You have the power to make this happen. Okay? And remember, when you get your output, what do? We fact check before we post. And then we make sure we've set up our personalization and our security, all of that. So we don't have the hyphens and the emojis. Okay? So this is where AI becomes useful because it helps you to communicate your thinking more clearly and more quickly. Okay? How are you guys liking this so far? Okay. Now, we're gonna move on to our next activity. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. And yes, don't worry if you are like brand new to AI. Of course, that's why I asked about the different ranges. You've got your guide, free resource. Take your time, step by step, and enjoy all of this, okay? And you get the recording, so don't worry. Now, we're gonna move to ChatGPT voice mode. We call it political wargaming, okay? This is another practical use in preparing for the kinds of questions that candidates get asked in public forums or like community events or interviews, okay? And if you're shy, I know I'm shy. I know it doesn't look like it, but I really am. When I say that, people don't believe me because of how loud I am, but I am. So this is something that would benefit me so immensely when it comes to communication, right? Now, this is a live prompt, and we're actually going to use ChatGPT to help us to prepare for tough situations. So let me carry you through this prompt, okay? You are an experienced political journalist interviewing a candidate about housing affordability. I'm telling ChatGPT now because I'm going to go into voice mode, okay? And I'm telling it your role is to simulate a realistic, high pressure media interview because you are most likely going to get those. Okay. And then these are the rules. I put in some rules. Ask one question at a time. Wait for my response before continuing. Gradually increase the difficulty from practical to critical to emotional because you're going to get all those type of questions. And then occasionally interrupt or challenge my response, just like a real journalist would. So you literally get prep before actually stepping out into the media. This is where ChatGPT becomes an advantage, okay? Ask follow-up questions if my answer is unclear, weak, or avoids the question. After each response, briefly assess my answer using clarity, confidence, relevance, strength of message, emotional connection. Now, look at this part. Then tell me, this is what I want. One thing I did well, even if my answer is horrible, just pacify me, okay? Don't tell me that was horrible. Don't say that to me. Next thing, tell me one thing I must improve, and then give me a stronger version of my answer. So that means I'm not just practicing, it's correcting me. And so then whatever I think I was going to say, chat is going to tell you what you could have added to that, and then you choose what you're going to say on the day. But whatever it means, whatever the case may be, this is not the first time you're going to be asked those questions. So when you step out into the media, guess what? It's not going to be as scary anymore because you've practiced. It's the same thing with job interviews. Okay, let's continue. Now you're going to ask to include a mix of policy questions, cost, feasibility questions, ethical challenges, and all of that. Now, this is the key when you go into voice mode. You say, when ready, When ready, ask me to switch to voice mode and begin the interview. Where are we going to go? Our live documents. Please head over to your live document and yeah. Oh, also, I forgot to tell you guys, you can actually ask ChatGPT to create a campaign flyer. So there was a new update called ChatGPT 2.0, Image 2.0, and the rendering, text rendering, this happened like 3 weeks ago, by the way, because Gemini was like leading, but now 2.0, very, very competitive. The text rendering is excellent. Even if you decide not to use that actual flyer, you can do a mock flyer and then send it to your graphic designer. Let me show you how to do that very quickly. Okay, this is the prompt, right? We're just copying this prompt. Let me highlight the prompt so you don't get confused on where to copy very quickly before we go ahead and put in the other prompt. And I'll just let you know that image generation actually takes a little while. So whilst it's going on, we'll move on to what we were about to go into now. So you just basically, after you've gotten this output, policy to people, paste that prompt here, create a campaign flyer with the key messaging from above with my branding, not and my branding. Let me change that in there. So just change that to with my branding. And you might have a branding or you might have a photo. Let me just add a photo of myself, something that looks very political. And I'll just put that in and see what it's going to create. And image. And I'll say put it with image. And then what you're going to do is select the plus sign. You see that plus sign? This is where you can upload stuff or you can create an image. So you see where it says create the image, create the image. And let's see what happens. So we're going to hit send and let it do its thing. So image generation takes a while. So that's why it's saying thinking and all of that. So you can see how just the graphic side of ChatGPT as well. Now, while that is happening, you can actually start a new chat. Did you guys know you can run multiple chats? So you can actually click, see where it says new chat? Right click and select open in a new tab. Okay. Once you open in a new tab, we can continue with what we're doing. Whilst this is taking its sweet time, we have a new tab. So how did I do that? I went to new chat, right click, open in a new tab. So ChatGPT can run multiple tabs. So you don't have to shut one thing down and go back to it later. All right, so we are now going to move to our wargaming and interview prep. So go to the live doc and you can see the prompt here. This is the same prompt that I read to you from the slide. Remember, the slide ended it, when ready, ask me to switch to voice mode and begin the interview. So we're going to copy this. Remember, copy this, go into ChatGPT and paste it there. That's why I created the live doc so you can just copy and paste, okay? Copy and paste it, and then we're going to hit send. And let's let it do its thing. Okay, so it's read the prompt and it says, absolutely, switch to voice mode and answer as the candidate. And it says, I will play the journalist. I will ask one question at a time, and then I'll assess your answer and give you a stronger version before moving to the next. Then this is voice mode. Remember, we did dictate over here when we were trying to turn our prompt using the prompt engineering hack. And then this is voice mode. So I'm going to click on voice mode, the black one here. And once you click on that, it's going to take you to voice mode. Okay, I'm ready to go. Ask me the first question.
All right, let's dive in. What is the first practical step you would take if elected to ensure families can actually afford a home?
Okay, well, if elected, I would make sure to make housing more affordable and ensure that first home buyers can get into the market a lot easier.
You were clear that you want first home buyers to benefit, but your plan lacked specifics. You sounded confident, though. To improve, focus on a concrete step. A stronger version could be, first, we will introduce a local housing grant, covering a portion of deposits for first-time buyers, easing that initial hurdle. Let's build from that next.
So, okay, let me just stop that. And then it'll ask you the next question and it can build from that. The thing about this is that it tells you what you did right. It tells you how you can improve. And remember that you can also upload certain, when we get into projects, you can give it context, okay? You can give it context in terms of, okay, I want you to draw on Australian politics, okay? I want you to draw on this. You can literally adjust the prompt how you want. Okay, so when it does that, it'll ask you the next question and the next question and the next question, and it'll give you a better version each time. Okay, I mean, this is like, So by the time you get to, oh, by the way, our flyer is ready. Look at that. Childcare that works for local families. Okay, supporting local families, Dr. Josephine Okurame. Look at that. Done in 2 seconds. Well, maybe 2 minutes. But look at that flyer. First of all, I feel like I need to campaign now, first of all, because this is just, it looks so official. But you can take this flyer, if you don't like it or you just don't want ChatGPT output, give it to your graphic designer. They need to beat this if you're paying for it. Do you know what I mean? Look at the text rendition. This is all from the document that we put into ChatGPT to start with. Okay? So this is what I'm talking about. Where could you have done this within a couple of minutes? Like when it comes to campaigning, you know? So we're trying to make you leverage it and make everything work for you. So I encourage you to continue with the voice mode. Ask it questions. If it's not hard enough, you can go in there and say, make it harder. Okay? Okay? Remember, you can modify the prompt, ask for harder questions, change the topic. This is your personal interview prep guide. Do you know they pay people to be interview prep guides? Now you've got chat. Now you don't have to walk out there and just be shocked when you hear the question because you would have been prepped. I want you guys to think a little bit further, right? What else do you think you can use voice mode for in chat? Put it in the chat for me, not ChatGPT, this chat. What else do you think you can use voice mode for now? Because I know your creative minds are just working. What else can you use it? Job interviews. Thank you. Thank you very much. Job interviews for my kids. Okay, good. Excellent. Do you know what? Practicing speeches. Excellent. Do you know what I'm thinking? Yeah. You have a job board meeting, perhaps meetings. Exactly. But remember our guardrails. Remember our security. Excellent. Difficult. Listen. You see, you brought family into this. That's right. That is right. Okay. And you can adjust as needed. Imagine a job interview prep. You put in the job description, put in your cover letter, your CV, and you simulate a job interview. Done. You are not going to be shocked when you get into that place. It's about preparation. Women entering politics are often underprepared for hostile or high pressure environments. It can hit us and we don't even know where to start from. Many, you have strong values, but you may struggle to articulate them under scrutiny, right? Because you're like, this is not what I believe, but it's not personal. You're ready. Nothing can hit you. Nothing can shock you. Okay? The benefit from practicing real scenarios is not just learning theory, it's actual practice. So war games becomes that practical training tool and not just a concept. Okay? So that's what we've just done. And that's what you're going to be doing moving forward. Okay? Yep. All right. Let's move on to the next activity. This one, I mean, I enjoy all of them, but this one, I'm very excited for. You can see me hopping in my chair. This is where you build your AI assistant using something called ChatGPT projects. Do you know what a lot of people use ChatGPT projects for? For filing, for folders. If you've used project for just folders, for filing away stuff, say me in the chat. It's okay. We're not shaming you. We listen. We don't judge. Just put me in the chat because a lot of people actually use it to file away stuff in little categories. But do you know that your ChatGPT project, I mean, have you used projects before? It can literally be your AI assistant for different scenarios. And we're actually going to give you some examples of those as well. So up until now, I've shown you what AI can do in single moments, right? But one of the most powerful ways to utilize AI is to build assistance that remembers its job. Okay? It understands your context and it helps you a lot more consistently. In ChatGPT, one of the easiest ways to do that is projects. Of course, we have more advanced things like custom GPTs and automations, but we're not scaring you guys today. We're just letting you in on what is possible. Okay? Today, we're going to be focusing on projects. We're going to set it up once, and you can always return to it later. The first thing we're setting up is Polybrief. Polybrief means I gave her name, Polly. You can call her Leonie. You can call her Sasha, whatever you want. She's Polly, and she is my AI campaign advisor. The first step, setting up your custom ChatGPT projects requires 3 steps. And I want you to remember that because I'm going to show you how to set one up. Then I want you to set multiple up later. Okay? So 3 steps. Just remember 3 steps. Step 1, create the project. Name the project. We're going to call Polybrief. What's the purpose? For briefing notes, for voter insights, for message tailoring, for the forum preparation, and you give it clear instructions about its role, how it should think, how it should respond, whatever you want to call it, feel free to call it. That is step 1. Step 2, where we feed it information. Look, the best output comes from the kind of information you feed it. So you can upload. Remember, I showed you guys how to upload. We're going to be uploading together. I showed you how to paste. You can upload or paste policy notes, speech drafts, electorate notes, campaign themes. Remember our guardrails, anonymizing, and all of that, okay? And you can also put in the AEC AI guidelines. So there is an AI guidelines for AEC that's been put out. This is the website. I'm gonna just share this in the chat as well. So just to make sure you are in the right framing, right? Just when it comes to utilizing AI, what you can use, AI for good, AI for communication. So please have a look at this document later and infuse it into your application of AI. Okay? And there are two ways to put information. Either you put it in or you ask AI to get it for you. Okay? The next thing is, sorry, give me a second. Okay. The next thing is you deploy the assistant. So you've given it a name, you've given it instructions, you've given it information. Number three, step three, deploy the assistant, put it to work. And then we are going to, this is the core instructions, but don't worry, I have it on copy and paste for you. Now, when it comes to feeding it information, this is the second step, right? You need to be able to, a campaign assistant, like I said, is only as useful as what you feed it. So good sources like, electorate notes, public data, community forum agendas, and things like that. Remember, voter avatars should not be guessed. They can be informed by actual electoral and demographic patterns. So you use the AEC, you use the Australian Bureau of Statistics. When you use these data sources, you start to see patterns in how people actually vote. And you can identify voter segments, you can understand preference flows, you can spot swing or influence groups. These are some of the benefits of putting in the right information. So you have 4 categories of information you can put in. Your campaign materials, so housing, cost of living, healthcare. You can put in your electoral data, right? You can put in your audience context, community context, so local issues, who's in the room, what's the tone that they need to be spoken to in, and then you put in your own voice. So if you've had previous speeches, previous, media answers, social posts, this is where it goes in. And then the method 2 is deep research or agent mode. Deep research is available for the free plan, but agent mode is only on the paid plan. Agent mode is where ChatGPT acts as an agent and you can send it out to do work for you. Okay? And the next step is you deploy the assistant. You ask it to prepare different things for you. All right, let's get into building this assistant. Now, if you go into your doc, this is our reference doc for everything. This is the instructions field. I'm just going to show you what's in the document. We have the instructions field here, and then we have the document. So I've prepared like a mock document that we can put in that will cover, the information that we're feeding it instead of us trying to source different documents, okay? Now, this is how you set up projects. You go to ChatGPT, okay? And you go to where it says project on the left. Can you all see where it says project there? And what I want you to do is click new project, okay? When you select new project, this pops up. I'm going to go back again in case you missed it. On the left, you've got project. You select new project, okay? And you're going to give it a name. I'm going to name it Poly Brief. I want Poly Brief to have, and next to the emoji, you can select there just to customize it a little bit because you can build different assistants, remember? And I want Poly Brief to be pink. Oh, let's make her yellow. And I want her to be a graduate. So let's just put the graduation hat as the emoji. Okay? And that's it. That's the first step with naming. That's it. And you're going to click Create Project. And it's going to take you to a whole new interface. And this is your project. This is Polybrief. The next thing you're going to do is go to Instructions, go to your live document, our live document, and I want you to copy this prompt. You are Polybrief, an AI campaign advisor for a woman preparing for Australian political life. This is your role. Help me with briefing notes, voter insights, community forum preparation, message tailoring, risk awareness. You look at this. This is already done for you. So you copy Polybrief and right-hand click copy her or the text. And when you go into your project, a lot of people don't know that the instructions is hidden in here, right here. Can you see where my mouse is? Click on that. Click on the name that you've just named. Click on Polybrief, and then you can still change the project name if you change your mind later on. Polybrief Princess, whatever. And there you have instructions. I want you to paste what we copied. Paste that in there, and you can see your instructions are all here, ready to go. Now, you don't have to come back each time and say, you are this, you are that, nobody has time for that, okay? We're trying to make your life easy, not harder, okay? So we're gonna select save. When you hit save, it's done. It's done. Polly knows what to do now. We've given her clear instructions. But guess what? She doesn't have information. So this is where you have sources. Can you see sources? This is the document you feed Polybrief. So Polybrief has what to refer to. I would put in the the AI guide from the AEC. So Polybrief, you would put in the AI guide in here, but I have a document for you. So if we go to the live documents, the live document, you can see over here the source documents, the mock document. So you can click that and download that. I want you guys to actually click on this link. It's a Google Drive document. If you click on the link, you'll see the document I prepared for you guys before. Oh, you can't see the instructions? So the instructions are here. You click on Polybrief here. When you click Polybrief, the instructions pop up and you can paste the instructions there. Okay? Like I said, don't worry. Some of this is like just watch and you can watch and understand it. Yeah, we're gonna give you the step by step. Okay, you can just follow along, but also don't worry if it's something you want to take your time and go back to, you definitely can. All right, so everyone in the Google Doc, you can download this Polybrief demo pack. So in this, I've already kind of told it. So this is the instructions that I already copied and pasted, but this is a fictional candidate profile. So this is a bit about me, or the name. The name of the candidate is Maya Okafor. You can choose to keep that anonymized. And then you have campaign themes, and then you have the mock electorate context brief. So I've just put in bits and pieces of information so Polly can have something to work from, okay? So what I want you to do is upload that into ChatGPT, well, into your Polybrief as a source. So you can go there and say, add sources, and upload what you just downloaded, or you can literally just drag it in. You can literally just drag it in. So I'm going to drag it in because I already have it downloaded. So once you download it, you can literally just drag it in. Okay? Now we are going to, this is the demo. See, once you drag it in, it goes blue because I'm literally dragging the file in and I drop it. So it says Polybrief demo source pack. That's the same one you have in that Google Doc. Okay? Remember, you can go back and put in your own information. I already gave you guidelines here of the kind of information you can put in, the kind of information you can put in. All of these are the information that you can put in, okay? Now, once you drag that in, what I want to do is give it a prompt, okay? This is the prompt right here. Once you've dragged the source in, I want you to go here, back to your source document. Remember, I told you you're going to need two screens because this is how it works. So one screen and a laptop. So prepare for me a community forum on cost of living. The audience is primarily working families, renters, small business owners, and migrants in Riverbend. That's the electorate. You can, put yours. Create a concise briefing notes. Top 5 key issues in plain English, likely voter concerns, 3 clear practical talking points, and all of that. So we're going to copy that. And we're going to go back to Polybrief and we're going to paste that there. Once we paste that there, we're going to send it. Remember now, Polybrief has instructions located here. Polybrief has some data in sources, and Polybrief now has a prompt. So this is where we deploy Poly. And let's see what Poly comes up with, okay? This is set up once and for all. You never have to tell Poly who she is, what she needs to do. Now look at the community forum briefing notes. These are the top 5 issues. Oh, by the way, look at the mood in the room before you even walk into the room. It's told you these are practical, tired, they're stretched, they're looking for answers. These are the 5 issues in plain English. It's like giving you an expo or like an insight before you walk in. The issue is rent and mortgage pressure. People are worried that housing costs are eating up too much of their income. These are some of the other issues: groceries, petrol and power bills, childcare and work stress. Imagine walking in, having all of this back end information. You're walking in with power. Like, I would vote for you if you know you can read my mind. This is basically what it is, like having an avatar for who you're talking to. So it says, what are the voter concerns? People are not asking, what is your policy? They're asking, do you actually understand what we are carrying? Because if we feel seen, you have our votes. Why wouldn't you want to leverage this? Three practical talking points you can say out loud. You can say this. Imagine walking into a place and you say something like this. Cost of living is not one bill. It is what happens when rent, groceries, petrol, childcare, power, and healthcare all rise at the same time. I will not pretend there is one magic fix, but I will fight for practical action that reduces pressure where families feel it most. I mean, look at that. It's like you're talking directly to them. Do you know what I mean? Now we have risk or lines. We asked it. Remember in the prompt, we said, give me something I should avoid saying. And it's telling you right here, do not say this. You're going to lose them. Don't say this. We will fix the cost of living. Don't promise. Don't overpromise. It sounds too broad and it may feel unrealistic and they're going to judge you low key. Okay? Like we can reduce, so say instead, this is what you could say instead. And remember, we asked it for one line to avoid. If you're like, give me 4 lines to avoid, I really want to avoid saying those things, AI can do that for you. You say we can reduce pressure in practical areas and make sure Riverbend gets a fairer share of services and support. Now, this is your closing line. This is something you can pick up on or you can refine. Okay? People in Riverbend are not asking for luxury. They're asking for breathing room, fairness, and a community where hard work still gives families a chance to build a stable life. I would vote for you. You have my vote. I don't know what else to say, but you have my vote. So these are some of the things that you can ask the assistant to do. You can ask it to identify key voter concerns, which we did, help me respond to a campaign challenge. And then you can also ask for a safer version, a bolder version. This is why I'm telling you, it's up to you. So learn to take control. I'm just giving you the keys on what you can use and implement, okay? And then these are other things that you can build. We just built Polybrief, but we can build a reputation radar assistant. What does it do? It monitors your name, where it's being mentioned, emerging narratives about you, and detects it and tells you what's happening. We can do the opposition mapper, analyzes opponents' messaging, strengths, weaknesses. This focuses on your competition. We can also build stakeholder navigator, which focuses on the party, the donors, the community leaders. Imagine building your projects. Imagine building all of your projects on the side and you can refer to them as needed. Now, what we're going to do is end here. We've covered a lot, okay, guys? These are some resources for you. You're going to get the resources also in an email tomorrow morning, but you can scan this for your free AI guide. And in that free AI guide, you're going to have this file. You have the resources, you have the guide. This is the step-by-step guide. You have the style and tone. If you've never used ChatGPT, this is really good for you to use. And these are the demo documents right here that we've covered in today's class. Okay, so feel free to scan for the free AI guide, and then you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And then also, this is Manus. Manus is like an AI agent, by the way, that goes out and does stuff. So you see when we talked about monitoring your social media platform, Manus is pretty much that. And you don't have to build technical things. You can literally tell it what to do and it does that. So Manus, I'm just giving you this link for you to get free AI credits to test it. Manus was bought by Meta. So if you use Facebook, you can use Manus, okay? But pay attention to the guardrails. I just thought it would be a nice freebie to drop in. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I hope you got something out of this session.
We have a couple of burning questions.
Yes.
For the next 5 minutes, if you could answer. Jessica wants to know, how do we know how accurate its assessments are of mood in the room? How has this been tested?
So remember when we said the data that we were going to put in, the particular data that we were going to put in, the AEC data, ABS data, that's what allows you to determine. So the AI basically analyzes based on what people's concerns are, and it's able to tell you, well, if you're concerned about housing and childcare, then your mood is that you're going to be stretched. So it analyzes that to give you a bit of an idea of some of the pressures that people are facing in that community, which is why the thing that you put into the AI is just as important as the output. Okay?
Fabulous, thank you. And Antoinette would like to know, I find that when I ask the AI to draft me different versions, it removes the content. What is the best way to tell it to modify without removing content?
Exactly what you just said. Tell it. Make sure you don't change the content. Keep the key content. And guess what? Let me tell you another thing that's a little trick that I do. If there's something particular that I want AI to do, I'm going to give it the instruction, then I'm going to ask it to tell me how it did it. So if I say, make sure not to remove the content, the end of the prompt, I'll say, tell me exactly how you made sure that the content was not removed or the context is not removed. Another hack I'll give you is whenever you put something into AI, tell it to ask you 3 qualifying questions. If it does, just to see, to make sure you understand what I'm saying, ask me 3 qualifying questions, and the AI will do that. And that basically just makes your, sorry, I forgot, I took it away. I can actually answer you with this on the screen. Yeah, so that basically just makes your, make sure that the AI is on the same page with you. So ask me 3 qualifying questions, do not remove context, and then tell me how you ensured that the context was not removed. So just, those kind of little hacks and tips there. Yeah.
I think that feeds into the next question of how do we screen out popular statements that do not represent good policy?
What, like popular statements, what people say generally?
E.g., first homeowner grants.
I
I
might
think
jump in on this one. I think
Yeah.
it really goes back to what Joe was saying about it's drawing it based on the information you're giving it. So I think you've really got to spend the time sharing with it what your values are, what you believe is good policy, what are the things that you would hold true to, so that it's actually drawing on that rather than a more generic database. I don't know, Joe, if you've got anything else to add to
I
that.
think that's a good answer. Another thing I would say is remember when we did the voice, I think the dictate function, not voice mode, dictate function to give it a prompt to turn it into a prompt. You can actually, one of the things I would say, especially if you're, let's say, doing an AI assistant like Polybrief, I would actually just sit and ask AI. You ask it to ask me 10 questions for you to understand who I am, my beliefs are, what I don't want to represent, what I do represent, and AI, just so that you get and understand my tone exactly. That's actually an exercise as well that we could have run through, but obviously you can see we had a lot to cover. So when you do that, the AI, just like in voice mode, it was asking one question at a time. It'll ask you questions. What do you value? What do you not want represent? What are the contradictory statements you don't want mentioned? What are the popular things you don't want mentioned in your speech? And it'll ask you those questions, and then you just say, lock this into the memory for Polybrief, and it's done. Then that's how you solve that.
Amazing. Thanks, Joe. And last question, what is your LLM of choice?
Oh, don't make me do that. Don't make me do that. Listen, look, everyone migrated to Claude, and I was like, you guys wait, don't rush. Because it's kind of like a bad relationship. I was like, oh, ChatGPT knows me too well. I just can't move. But I love ChatGPT. Let me tell you what my LLM of choice right now is. Just because I'm moving more into agentic features and things, it's Manners. That's why I gave you Manners credits for you guys to test it out. And also because Manners has a lot of security around it because of the meta linkage, and a lot of data to pull from. ChatGPT is safe. It has a lot more, like there are limitations in what it can do. So if you want ChatGPT to be agentic, you would use like codecs and other complex things. But Claude sounds more human. It's like a best friend. So it's between ChatGPT and Claude. I can't pick right now. Manus is different because I see it as agentic. But like in terms of my go-to, ChatGPT. What I'm loving right now is Claude. So you see, I'm unfaithful to my LLMs. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't pick.
Fantastic. Well, I can see so many smiling faces, and
Thank you,
I
guys.
think everyone can see why we were so excited to have Jo share her depth of knowledge. That was just such a incredibly practical whirlwind of a training session. And you can see just how quickly AI is evolving, and yes, there are many risks and things we've got to think through in terms of those guardrails, but gosh, it has such opportunity too in terms of how you can use it in a practical sense. So I hope you can go away from this with at least 2 or 3 extra things in your toolkit. And you can see we will absolutely be sharing with you the recording, the slides, the resources. It will all be there for you to leverage over time because there's a lot to take in and, a lot you'll want to come back to. And really, as Joe said, it's all about just giving it a go, refining it, spending the time to help whatever LLM you use better understand where you stand, what your views are on an issue and how you can leverage that in your political journey. So thank you again, Joe. That was fantastic. Please do fill out the poll when it pops up in a moment and enjoy the rest of your evening.